The sexual revolution. Definition and significance. The sexual revolution represents a cultural upheaval that emerged predominantly in the 1960s and 1970s, characterized by a rejection of repressive societal norms surrounding sexuality. It advocated for sexual freedom, gender equality, and the dismantling of traditional family structures. This movement was significant not only for its impact on personal lives, but also for its broader socio-political implications. A critical component of understanding this revolution is recognizing it as part of a continuum within leftist movements that sought to challenge established hierarchies, whether they be based on class, race, or gender. The sexual revolution can thus be seen as both an expression of liberal ideals advocating individual autonomy and a precursor to more radical expressions that sometimes veer into despotism. The transformation in sexual attitudes during this period was fueled by several factors. Freud's theories about sexuality challenged Victorian notions of repression, positing that sexuality was an intrinsic part of human identity rather than something to be suppressed or shamed. His ideas encouraged individuals to explore their desires openly, which resonated with emerging feminist movements, advocating for women's rights over their own bodies. Wilhelm Reich built upon Freudian thought, but took it further by linking sexual liberation with political liberation. He argued that societal repression stifled both individual freedom and collective social progress. Thus, sexual freedom was essential not only for personal fulfillment but also for achieving a just society. Reich's radical views laid the groundwork for later generations who would adopt his ideas as they pushed against conservative cultural norms, ultimately intertwining personal liberation with political activism. The legacy of the sexual revolution can be observed in current debates surrounding issues such as reproductive rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and consent culture, all fundamental aspects championed by segments of the American left today. However, while these movements initially sought to expand freedoms and promote tolerance, there are growing concerns about authoritarian tendencies among some factions within the left, who advocate for censorship under the guise of protecting marginalized communities from perceived threats, an echo reminiscent of past totalitarian regimes that justified oppressive measures through ideological purity. This tension between liberalism's foundational principles, such as free speech, and emergent authoritarian impulses raises critical questions about what constitutes true liberation versus oppression disguised as protection. When does advocacy become dogma? How do we reconcile individual liberties with collective responsibility? These questions form part of an ongoing discourse, reflecting both sides' struggles within contemporary leftist ideologies. Tracing the trajectory from liberalism through the lens of the sexual revolution reveals complex dynamics at play within American left movements, from initial liberatory aims rooted in individual autonomy to potential despotism manifesting through restrictive practices justified by moral or ideological imperatives. Figures like Freud and Reich serve not only as historical markers, but also reminders that philosophical foundations can lead down divergent paths depending on societal context. As America continues navigating its cultural wars around sex and politics today, it is crucial to reflect on these transformations, to ensure that movements aiming for liberation do not inadvertently pave pathways toward new forms of oppression under authoritarian pretenses cloaked in benevolence or progressivism.